to deliver a holistic picture to understand what were the mistakes on behalf of the Western stakeholders. And I think this is really very crucial if we also want to formulate lessons learned from this process. I mean, it started probably not really in 2014, but earlier, but I would like to really to go back to this 2014, to the occupation of Crimea. Because I think really the reaction, especially also the German reaction, led us to where we are right now. The German government, as a short reminder, at that time, Mrs. Merkel even pushed the Nord Stream 2 project. Just a reminder, that was the gas pipeline between Russia and Germany, right? And that was at that time the main focus. She also gave an interview in 2022, and she said that she saw the problems with this breach of international law, with the occupation, but nevertheless, Merkel pointed out that she wanted Verbindung through trade, connection through trade, not change through trade, but connection through trade. And she thought that that was a good a decision at that time. It was also backed by, we have really clearly to state that the economy, the political leadership, they wanted cheap gas by Mr. Putin, and that was the main focus at that time. So I see this as a huge historic failure with disastrous consequences, and I think this led us to the situation where we are right now. To say we see that this is highly counterproductive, and obviously Putin, and I think this is probably correct, was feeling empowered by this non-reaction from Germany, but also by the rest of Europe. And he perceives this probably as a green light for further action and for going further, on this way of occupation and attacking Ukraine as a sovereign state. Then, as a consequence, Putin attacked Ukraine in 22. I think this is a second pillar of appeasement. Since then, we saw 3 years of a really very weak and highly uncoordinated performance of the West, including also, I think, the Biden administration. And in Germany, it became evident that there was a lack of understanding of the Russian invasion. There were several statements by the Chancellor Scholz at that time that he was talking constantly about territorial goals by Russia. He didn't understand that it's not about territory, but that the regime in Moscow made pretty much clear that it was about the destruction of the whole nation. So in my understanding, I think that was really a completely misunderstanding on behalf of the German Chancellor of the ruling party, especially also the Social Democratic Party by Mr. Scholz. And at that time, Chancellor Scholz formulated the concept of Zeitenwende, change of times, right? But without a strong commitment for implementation. And that was the main crucial point. So I think this is very serious. We had at the end something on something like a crucial, it was really very pretty much spread also in the media. It was a piece of paper, but it was not infused in our foreign policy. And it did not lead to a strategic, for example, armament policy. So inside, we did not prepare, for example, for this Zeitenwende in Germany. We did not prepare our army, the Bundeswehr. This is, for example, also one crucial point. We see here also a lack of strategy. And on the other hand, we didn't support Ukraine properly. So what we witnessed was a clear strategic failure here in Germany, because we didn't define, and I think this is very crucial for that time, covering these last 3 years since 2022, we didn't clearly formulate the strategic goal. And you could see this in the discussions, because in the open discourse, it was discussed that Germany should Ukraine, and this is a quote, to support as long as it takes, which is quite wake, right? It doesn't say anything. But we didn't formulate the most important goal, right? So that we would support Ukraine and support everything, what need to be done so that Ukraine could win. And this is a difference. And I think this reflects this, if we are not clear in the analysis and if we are not clear in the formulation of a strategy, how could we then act properly? So I think this is very crucial to understand. And I think, again, that was a serious strategic failure by the German Chancellor at the first place, a lack of strategic leadership. And the German Chancellor Scholz blocked within the German government accordingly, the deliverers of technical war systems, such as the Tower system, which was discussed openly for months, right? And as a matter of fact, Scholz spoke more about possible or potential civilian victims in Russia than about the real victims in Ukraine. So what we witnessed during the last 3 years was that the German discourse was more or less dominated by the Russian perception, by the Russian perspective. What would Putin say? What would Putin do? That was, on a daily basis here, the dominant narrative in the German political discourse. Also in the media, by the way, that was interesting that even we will also talk about disinformation today. But even I see, as a journalist, I've worked for 10 years for the German news magazine Der Spiegel. We saw a huge failure within the media landscape, because that was not a corrective at that time, but we were spreading these wrong narratives and these completely misled discussions. So some of the leading military and defense experts in Germany have been criticizing Scholz for years for his insufficient support for Ukraine that would have enabled the country to win the war, but we didn't deliver enough. And I think this is the most crucial point at this moment. The election results recently in Germany reflected the fact that Scholz, the current chancellor, is not perceived as a leader, especially not when it comes to German security situation, also not to the European security situation. So he lost massively credibility and reputation. And therefore, I'm really very glad that we see right now interesting and crucial new dynamics. France and UK with Macron and Starmer, they took the lead, right, during the last weeks, especially after this very, disgusting speech of DJ Vance in Munich during the security conference, where it became clear that the security guarantees are over, the American guarantees for Europe. And we see right now that this coalition, also Poland is included, Denmark is very active, Finland, Estonia, though interestingly, Germany not, right? And this is a lesson for our new government to be learned, because we saw this also during the summit or the gathering right now in London. I don't know if you noticed that Mr. Scholz, he stood in the third row. Could you imagine, Angela Merkel standing in the third row? Not at all. So this is a message, and this is a message, and this is a result of 3 years of, somebody said this at the beginning, hesitation, delays, but especially coming from Berlin, from the Chancellor's office, from Mr. Scholz. And it was also a clear message to Germany, right, that the others took the lead right now. Germany lost on the international floor credibility. We're not perceived as the strong partner. Mr. Casale spoke about strength, You know, Mr. Scholz, our chancellor, spoke about Besonnenheit. This is prudence. But what we definitely need is strength right now. So that's the reason why I really hope that with the new Chancellor Friedrich Merz right now, Germany will come back, in this crucial moment as a serious partner on the international stage. Also to work, and I think this is urgently needed, not on Besonnenheit, on prudence, but on a containment policy, on a strict containment policy. And I think what we definitely also need to discuss is, how prepared are we at this moment? Because I mean, the Bundeswehr, the German army, is not prepared, and this is also a huge problem for our defense system right now. But this should be discussed probably during the afternoon. But this is so far my input on this history of appeasement, also with reflections on the German role of appeasement during the last 3 years.